Hi, my friends, Sam Villa here. There's so much going on with cutting, and I have to tell you, one thing that's happening is layers and graduation. You're starting to see that a lot in the shapes that we're executing. So what I want to do is I want to share with you a way that you can create face framing, because that seems to be a happening thing right now. I'm going to come through and I'm going to work with diagonal sections in through the front area. And these diagonal sections, I'm going to work from a middle part so you can see the angle and the face framing that I'm going to achieve. I'm going to work with a diagonal section that moves itself forward. Now, rather than coming in and cutting the line and cutting the face frame line in and then going in and layering, what I'm going to suggest is that we think inside out and we come in and start to layer right away. So now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go through and I want to go through, elevate this. So I'm going to elevate this in a diagonal fashion out from the head. Now the length that you determine is you determine where you want that angle to start. I'm going to start it pretty much just about the top of her lip area. So that's the position of where I'm going to cut. I'm going to come through, hold my hand. Let me give you a little bit more of a quarter view there. I'm going to come through, elevate, checking again where I want that, just at the top of her lip area, and I'm going to come through and begin to start my angle. Now when I come through and cut the angle, I'm working with our 7-inch dry cutting shear, the swivel. Notice how it allows me to keep my elbow down. If I didn't have the swivel, this is the position I would be in. With the swivel, it allows me to bring that arm down. I'm going to go through and cut my guide. Now watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to come through and I'm going to cut the guide, but then I'm going to come back through and I'm just going to soften that line out. I'm just going to fan and just point cut. Now, next section, here's where the difference happens this season. On this next diagonal forward section, I'm going to go 1 finger length longer than my guideline. So I'm talking about 1 finger width. See that? That's how much longer I'm going to extend past my guideline. I've discovered by doing this, you're going to create much more of a soft edge. At the same time, notice that's the guide that dropped out, same angle, come back in, and now I come in and soften that edge. By elevating, we're going to create a degree of softness. The angle I'm cutting is actually what's going to create the face frame as I'm working. I'm going to come through, take another section. Now watch, I'm going to take the entire thing that I've cut, and I'm going to extend past the last section that I cut. So I'm going to come up to that section, I'm going to look and see where that's at. There is my guide there. So I'm going to come through, I'm going to extend 1 finger length past that. So now you start to see, each time I take a section, you're starting to see it drop out. I'm going to come back through. Notice when we fan, my thumb is in the index finger and I just push my thumb and curl that index finger around the thumb. Then we're going to come through and I'm going to stabilize the shear, open and close, and start to move where I see the weight. So I'm not moving the shear, and the reason being, if I start to move the shear, it comes at a diagonal. Anytime I'm going diagonal and not parallel with the hair, then you're going to be removing length. If I stay parallel with it and move to the shear, then I'm staying parallel. Now all I'm removing is weight. Let's continue back. Sam, how far back do you go? You're going to continue these sections, diagonal forward, diagonal forward, diagonal forward, diagonal forward. I want you to keep working it all the way down past the ear until you run out of hair, until no more hair reaches. Once again, my over direction point. Let's give you a straight on view of that. My over direction point is to the center part. A lot of times when we comb away from us, we have a natural common tendency to over direct, over comb. So what I want you to do is start thinking about the spine of the comb. And when I talk to you about the spine of the comb, this is the spine of the comb. So I'm aware of where is the spine of the comb. As soon as it hits that middle part, then from there, that's when I elevate and extend up. Now whatever reaches, I'm gonna go 1 finger past that guide and I take whatever's there. Notice every section I've been cutting, they've been dropping out. This is gonna guarantee, look at the softness I'm already getting. Looks like I've already sliced into it. But that's the extension of the guide. Now I'm working with a 7-inch because I want to go in deeper. With a longer blade, it's going to allow me to get deep. Look how deep I'm going into that. So Sam, are you re-softening some of what you've already cut? Yes, I am. I'm just getting a nice degree of softness to it. Now watch. When I release this, watch the soft face frame angle that I'm going to have. But what I love is that this angle is already broken up for you. So it's broken up for you so you don't have to go in and re-slice it and do all sorts of things. Now I'm noticing that there's a little bit of a gap right there, so I'm just gonna go back through. Sam, what do you think caused that? I might have extended a little bit more than that, but I'm gonna go back through and look and see if I can find it. Here it is right here. So I'm gonna go through and I'm just gonna release a little bit of length, so I'm a little bit more on a diagonal. Now once I've got the desired length release there, and visually I was able to see that. Now I come back through and I'm going to resoften. Now watch, when I release, immediately I get this angle that starts to do this, and that's what I'm looking for. Let's go to the opposite side. When I cut the opposite side, let's talk about what happens when we stand on this side. If you notice, when I was here, the shear was pointed up. If I move to the opposite side, because I'm right-handed, the shear is pointed down. So in most cases, you'll find yourself chasing the hair, and you find that you're getting longer, especially if you're working with a dull shear. So what I'm gonna encourage that we do is take a slice of what I've cut. I'm gonna take a slice of what I'm about to cut. I'm going to stand on the same side. So because we're standing on the same side, that's going to allow for my blade to have the same action of the shear being pointed up. Yet, what's most important is this is where common tendency happens, where you overcomb again. If there's any tool that's gonna get us create problems or inconsistency, it's called the comb. It's not your hands, it's not the shear. It's all about where you comb to sometimes that creates that excess length. So I'm gonna come through right off that center part. I'm looking for that solid line that I had as a guide. Sam, why are you taking another section? Because that solid line wasn't there. So I'm taking a smaller section so I'm able to see it. There it is there. Once I see that solid line, then I know I'm ready to go. And I want to make sure that I'm right in that center. That's where I belong. Look at my elbow drops. Look at the extension of my arm and my hand. They're perfectly straight. Now I come through, that's my guide for the opposite side. We come back to the opposite side, take our diagonal forward section, take your guide from the same side, move to the opposite side. Cutting Aerobics 101. Now there's my guide. So now I'm working one finger length. Now watch. That's my guide, so I'm gonna extend one finger past that, and I'm gonna be cutting my second section here. I found that it's a great way for me to create a sense of texture with a sense of discipline. Now, don't forget, Sam, you've got to come back in, and I have to soften these. So I didn't soften that first one, so let's come back and let's soften both of these together. Texture is all visual and feel. There's just no way that we can cross-check texture. So remember that as you're working. It's so important you work with consistency. Notice how I step back to the opposite side, take a diagonal forward section, I move back over. Now the length should fall inside of my hand this direction. So watch it fall. There's that first section, there's the second section, there's my width. Trust it and cut it. Come back through now and fan and point cut that. Remember, move the fan, not the shear. If anything, the shear is moving up and down, but it's not moving right to left or left to right. Walking to the opposite side, diagonal forward sections. And once again, you continue to work this until you run out of hair where no hair reaches. Coming through, combing, being aware of where I'm combing. Watch the spine of the comb. As soon as the spine of the comb hits that middle part, that tells me, Sam, slide up, because that's where you want to be. There's 1, 2, 3, one finger past that. And what's important, guys, is don't feel you have to cut a lot of hair every time we pick up a section. Sometimes you won't find yourself cutting as much hair, and I think that's perfectly fine. Don't go looking for hair to cut. Let's take one more section and see if there's any extension of hair that we need to release. So let's talk about this type of graduation. Okay, we're referring to this as reverse layering or reverse graduation, meaning that what I'm doing is, think about one length hair. It's shorter at the bottom and each section gets longer, but it's even. What I'm doing is the same thing. Have you ever heard this analogy? When you cut a bob, cut your guide. The next section, leave it just slightly longer. And the next section just slightly longer, and the next section just slightly longer. What that's doing is it's giving this edge a sense of pliability. It's the same thing that we're doing here. Nothing new, just reaching to the past, bringing it forward, but adding a freshness to it in terms of the idea and the concept that we want to go in and texture hair. What I've discovered by doing it this way, it's saving me time going in and texturizing. And if there's any tool that you're texturizing, Sam, what would it be? It's the Invisablend. The Invisablend is probably going to be one of our top selling shears because of the fact we're layering hair. And one of the most difficult hairs to layer is blonde hair. I don't know about you, but I find it very, very difficult to layer. So with blonde hair, when you're going through and we're layering blonde hair, the idea is this, is that you see the lines when we layer blonde hair. And when you see those lines, you're going back in there and you're trying to texturize those lines out. The Invisablend shear itself will go in and take care of all of that for you. Once again, thanks for watching. Try the layering technique. You're gonna love it. Reverse layering, reverse graduation, because it gives you that organic texture on the edge.